Amidabutsu. Namo Amidabutsu. Namo Amidabutsu. Namandabutsu. 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 Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Welcome to our OCBC and Vista Buddhist Temple communities who are attending online. This is it's not exactly a special service as we used to call it, but it is special because here in Anaheim, Sunday, June the 6th, we're having a Sunday service with a few in-person attendees, and I'm very glad that they could all be here. I'm Jim Pollard. I'm a minister's assistant. And we haven't had a service with in-person attendees in about 15 months. So we're learning how to do that again in a manner that's safe and respects our tradition. So we have a small group of OCBC senior members who have chosen to be with us here today. And I need to acknowledge all the people who are contributing to this service today. First of all, the beautiful flower arrangements on the Naijin were created by Reverend Wondra. And then behind the scenes, there's been technical coordination by Reverend Turner. And then, of course, we have our AV team. We have Daniel, we have Aaron, we have Glenn, Kent, and Russell. And all of these individuals are working tirelessly to help put on this service online as well as in person. And then I should also thank our office manager, Nancy, who coordinated the attendance list today. And finally, the Indefatigable Risk Management Committee, who has been at work over the last year and has helped us get to this point where we are today. So as far as our order of service, we'll begin with some words by Shinran. Then we'll have chanting, Jusei-ge, a selected saying. Then there'll be a Dharma message. And we'll have a musical offering. And finally, announcements. Sorry, I'm going to have to restart my slideshow here. Let's begin with Shinran's words. Please join me in Gassho. The radiant light, unhindered and inconceivable, eradicates suffering and brings realization of joy. The excellent name, perfectly embodying all practices, eliminates obstacles and dispels doubt. This is the teaching and practice for our era. Devote yourself solely to it. Namo Amidabutsu. Namo Amidabutsu. Namo Amidabutsu. Namandabutsu. We'll now have sutra chanting. It will be the familiar Jusei-ge, but I'd like you to think about what the first couple of lines mean, because this will tie into the theme of my Dharma message. I have established a world-transcending vow, Gagon Cho Se-gan, certainly to fulfill the unsurpassed path. So let's reflect on that as we chant Jusei-ge. Namo Amidabutsu. Namo Amidabutsu. Namandabutsu. Namandabutsu.
shu, fu sai sho bin gu, sei fu jo sho ga, ga shi jo butsudo, myo sho cho jippo, ku kyo mi sho mon, sei fu jo sho ga, ryoku jin shonen, jo e shu bon gyo, shigu mu jodo, isho ten nin shi, jinri kien daiko, fu sho mu saido, shoujo san kumyo, kosai shu yakunan, kai hi chi egen, meshi kon moan, hei soku sho wakudo, tsudatsu zen shumon, koso jo manzo, Iyoro jippo, nichigatsu shujuki, tenko on fugen, ishu kai hozo, koseku doku ho, jo odai shuchu, seppo shishiku, kuyo isai boots, kusoku shu toku hon, ganne shitsu joman, toku isan gaio, nyobutsu mugechi, tsudatsu mi fusho, gangaku eri, toshi sai sho son, shiganya koka, daisen no kando, koku sho tenin, to uchin myoke, namandabu, 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 namandabu. Ganni shikudoku, byodo sei sai, dohoten bodai shin, ojo an rako. Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu, Namandabutsu, Namandabutsu, Namandabutsu.
I'd like to share with you this selected saying. Let's read it together. This is one you haven't read before. Buddhism focuses on our attainment of true human growth as we search for a higher way of life by awakening to world-transcending wisdom. One who realizes the fulfillment of such wisdom is called a Buddha. And Buddhism reveals the path leading to the attainment of Buddhahood. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. I'd like to share with you a Dharma message that actually extends the theme of our saying, which we just read. So my talk is called The Right Starting Point. And I will deal with some very basic aspects of the Dharma path, aspects that I would say are universal or even inescapable. I will not use any specialized terminology apart from the words Buddha and Dharma. Think about these questions. What does it mean to follow the path of the Dharma? Does the path have a starting point? Think for a moment about where your path began and where it might be leading. Do you sense that it's leading to some type of fulfillment? I take that to be the aspiration of every spiritual seeker, to find a sense of fulfillment. To realize the potential of any spiritual path, I believe that we must begin in the right way. To paraphrase Shinran, if the starting point is pure, then the fulfillment is pure. So let's consider what is the fulfillment of the Dharma path and what might be the right point of departure for realizing it. The main idea I want to share with you is that the path begins with doubt. As I see it, to doubt our values is the right starting point. 100 years ago, there was a minister in the BCA named Gyodo Haguri. Reverend Haguri said this: "No one is born a Buddhist." That's because entering the Dharma path is a question of nurturing the mind rather than an instinctive desire that one feels as an infant. There must be a process of discovery to encounter one's true spiritual vocation. Recall from the Sunday service 3 weeks ago the infant presentation ceremony. The ceremony can be regarded as a starting point for the parents. It is not the starting point for the infant. Why? Because to start on the Dharma path is inevitably a conscious life choice calling for a certain level of maturity and discernment. In my own case, I was unable to make this life choice until age 50. You could say that it took 5 decades for me to emerge from infancy. If we think about personal histories, we might observe that there are many starting points in connection with the Dharma path. For example, enrolling in Dharma school as a child, attending a youth retreat, coming to the temple for the first time as an adult visitor, signing up as a temple member, and so forth. However, what I call the right starting point on the path necessarily involves universal aspects. The other steps that I mentioned, such as Dharma school or temple membership, may indeed create favorable external conditions, but these are not in and of themselves the right starting point, which, as I say, is a conscious life choice with universal implications. A phrase that's been used to describe the right starting point is a turning around of the mind. A turning around of the mind. The 2 most important historical teachers for me are Gautama Buddha, known as Shakyamuni, and Shinran Shonin. The words and life examples of these 2 teachers are my primary source of inspiration. The path could not exist for me without their continual influence. Gautama and Shinran lived 16 centuries apart in quite different cultures, but they had this much in common. Each of them realized the fulfillment of the Dharma path, which is Buddhahood. The aim of attaining Buddhahood can be seen as universal and as being identical for Gautama and for Shinran. And by implication, the fulfillment of the path is the same for us in 21st century America. Recall what we say in the Three Treasures text. May I discover the highest aspiration, which is to become a Buddha. These words are recited quite often, but do we take them to heart? May I, not people in general, but may I discover the highest aspiration, which is to become a Buddha. Let me share with you again this concise statement of what it means to become Buddha. Buddhism focuses on our attainment of true human growth as we search for a higher way of life by awakening to world-transcending wisdom. One who realizes the fulfillment of such wisdom is called a Buddha, and Buddhism reveals the path leading to the attainment of Buddhahood. These are the words of Takamaro Shigaraki, who was Bishop Harada's principal teacher when he studied in Japan. Becoming a Buddhist means to embrace the outlook summarized in this statement. Thus, Buddhism is the path of awakening to wisdom that transcends the secular world. Sometimes in Japanese, the phrase Jōbutsu, to become Buddha, is simply a metaphor equated with physical death. That is to use the phrase in, I think, a misleading way, suggesting that one becomes Buddha eventually without even following a spiritual path. Shinran, on the other hand, gives a very concrete explanation of what it means to attain Buddhahood. He says that in the present life, those who follow the Dharma path are made to see a little bit of world-transcending wisdom. For Shinran, being made to see that little bit of wisdom means that one's mind is completely turned around. It means that the present life will certainly reach fulfillment. This life, for Shinran, this life ends in Buddhahood, with nothing left to be resolved as far as one's spiritual path. This is why in Shin Buddhism, it is crucial to discover the right starting point. As mentioned, if the starting point is pure, the fulfillment is pure. Gautama and Shinran each realized the universal goal of Buddhahood by finding the right starting point and by following the path leading from it. The starting point, too, contains aspects that are universal. As I see it, one of those aspects is to doubt our system of values, as suggested here. Buddhism encourages us to engage in profound reflection on the reality that we human beings lead lives of ignorance, emptiness, and falsity in our everyday secular lives. Without coming to doubt our secular values, I don't think it would be possible for us to start on the Dharma path, or any spiritual path for that matter. The values to be doubted are, of course, wealth and fame, but also social status, career, family, recreation. These are all the leading secular values which Gautama renounced to pursue the spiritual path. Why did he do so? It was because he saw that wealth, fame, and all the rest were hollow. Seeing that the things he cherished were fated to pass away, Gautama concluded that his secular values lacked any substance that he could rely on. Through a penetrating insight into ourselves, we are subjectively made to negate the present state of our being, which remains buried in the secular world. This is the Dharma path described by Gautama and by Shinran. But let's consider for a moment an opposing point of view. What about the person who relies exclusively on the secular world, who never comes to doubt his or her values? In that case, one has no need for a spiritual vocation. Such people, by affirming the present state of their being, can fulfill their lives through personal accomplishments without recourse to Buddhism. But for those like Gautama and Shinran, who cannot escape the consciousness of doubt, spiritual seeking becomes necessary. How should we describe the secular world? Among other things, it must be admitted that the world is full of suffering and cruelty. It is a world of unrestrained egotism. I believe that doubt will overtake anyone who is not blind to this fact. One is driven to look for a spiritual path that might lead beyond the negative aspects of the secular world, that might lead to a way of life where suffering and cruelty are eliminated. You've heard me say that rejecting secular values is the right starting point. However, something different must be said concerning the fulfillment of the path. I'll do that now. Fulfillment on the Dharma path means, as I say, seeing a little bit of world-transcending wisdom. Seeing this wisdom changes our perspective. The secular world, including both negative and positive aspects, becomes a learning place, a place for the attainment of true human growth, a place where unavoidable suffering is no longer meaningless. This is the life of awakening presented by the Shin Buddhist Dharma path. Now, what was Shinran's experience? How did he encounter the right starting point? As with Gautama, it involved a renunciation, but of a different kind. Shinran did indeed leave the secular world when he was an 8-year-old boy. He spent 20 years on Mount Hiei, following monastic discipline, but taking up such a life as a boy did not constitute the right starting point for him. What he renounced after 20 years on the mountain was not secular values. What he renounced was his religious values. That decision became the right starting point for Shinran. It may be hard for us to understand what led him to leave monastic life. A special focus of Mount Hiei Buddhism was extreme practices that would drive a monk to the point of physical and mental collapse, such as uninterrupted walking around a Buddha statue for 90 days at a stretch. It was believed that these daunting tests would purify the mind, a view that the young Shinran accepted. But his departure from the mountain was not motivated by failure at physical practices such as these. On the contrary, it appears that he succeeded in performing them to the letter. The reason for abandoning physical practices was that he concluded they are hollow. They lack any substance he could rely on. They could not transform Shinran's mind. Recall what I said earlier. A universal aspect of the right starting point in Buddhism is to doubt our secular value system. Hence, Gautama abandoned his home and his social status to seek the way. I contend that another universal aspect of the right starting point is to doubt our religious value system. This aspect of doubting our religious values is, in fact, the central focus and the right starting point of Jodo Shinshu, as understood by Shinran. One must abandon the mountain, at least figuratively, in order to take up the path of Shin Buddhism. What I'm describing here is a process of self-discovery, of understanding the self more clearly. And the process might go like this. Something about Buddhism catches our interest. We explore the teachings and find them to be applicable in our lives. We feel a certain level of commitment to the path and seek fulfillment there. We create a religious value system, modeling it after our secular value system, because this is the only type of logic available to us. Our religious value system is based on the secular goal of self-improvement. We become followers of what Shinran calls provisional Buddhism. In Jodo Shinshu, Buddhism based on self-improvement is the figurative mountain that we need to abandon. Can we do so? Alas, as foolish beings, we never abandon provisional Buddhism entirely. Not even Shinran could do that. But what we can do is learn to doubt our religious values by hearing and reflecting on Shinran's teaching and life experience. I contend that this is what Jodo Shinshu is all about. Doubting our values is to see the religious ego at work in the way we approach our spiritual path. Motivated by the religious ego, we gravitate to the idea of self-improvement. To be more clearly aware of our selfish spiritual motivations is what Shinran means by seeing a little bit of world-transcending wisdom. On the Shin Buddhist path, this way of seeing our motivations more clearly is ever deepening. Today, I have been talking about basic aspects of the Dharma path, namely the starting point and the fulfillment. I noted that we do not enter the path during infancy. We must mature into it. I contend that the right starting point involves something universal, namely doubting our secular values. Specific to Shin Buddhism, the starting point is to doubt our religious values as well. It is to doubt our capacity for spiritual self-improvement. In this way, although we remain foolish beings, we are made to see a little bit of the Buddha's wisdom. Thank you very much for listening. Namo Amidavats. Namo Amidavats. Namo Amidavats. We'll now have a musical offering. It is Okage Samade with Deepest Gratitude, which is on page 143. The words and music are by Rene Maruyama, and the pianist is Aaron Hayashida. Thank you for Renee for providing our song, and thank you very much, Aaron, for that beautiful performance. So we'll now move on to the announcements concerning Dharma School Adult Study, Craft Boutique, and Membership. So this is for today, June the 6th. Online Dharma School will begin at 11 o'clock. It will include Fuji, 1st grade, Kiku, 5th, Sumire, 6th, Hasu, 7th, Matsu High School. And then we will also have adult study at 11 o'clock. It will take place here in the Hondo and also online. It's our so-called hybrid format. So you're welcome to stay if you want to participate here in the Hondo. If you're online, then when our YouTube service ends, you will exit YouTube and then go to the Zoom link, which you should have received in an email. A week from today, June the 13th, Reverend Ellen Crane will lead the Sunday morning service, and she will also do a Zoom adult study. To attend that one, you can register easily by using the Google form on the OCBC website. Project Kokoro is carrying on with their online craft boutique, and you can get to it by, again, accessing it from the temple website, ocbuddhist.org. There are new items being added all the time, and the proceeds will go to our Obon fundraiser. And then the final announcement concerns membership. If you're at a point where Orange County Buddhist Church or Vista Buddhist Temple seem like home, please consider becoming a sustaining member, and it's easy to do that by going to ocbuddhist.org or vbtemple.org. Membership support helps us carry on with services like this one. So that concludes our family service for this morning, and please join me in the closing gasho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu.